Hello, Mr. Ramakrishna. Basically, we are discussing one topic that is city creation. City creation, basically, we are discussing one other topic that is future creation. So, this was the example of this was the example of this many year basically people are going to stay basically. The maximum year basically the people stay basically nowadays basically is 90, 95, 100. Sometimes basically maximum is 130, 140, 150, 160 basically. More than that basically people doesn't stay basically in this current generation basically I'm telling you. Current generation which is ongoing basically. The previous basically there are lots of things basically. So like this basically. So they basically daily kills the people basically. And because they have the 6 crore blood cells basically. So they basically allocates daily basically one human souls basically gets activated basically. And previous day basically human souls basically gets end basically. So see and the creation basically of the cities basically that is the Bangalore city, Mumbai city, Ahmedabad city. This everything basically is connected with this creation basically. Everything is basically connected with this creation that is the human souls allocation basically. So you can just imagine. So this diagram basically is the thing basically. So in this one of the person told that basically, yeah, basically previous topic basically you told that basically the story basically Vadodara city story, Bangalore city story, Mumbai city story, then Russia story, India story, Hyderabad story, Germany story, this story, that story. So that basically is what basically. Then one other person told that basically each and every story basically connects to systems basically. Each story basically connects to the system basically. I will take one example. In Corona, basically more than 50 crore people died, and the currently which is war ongoing, there also basically more than 50 crore people basically died. So total more than 100 crore people basically has died basically. So one of the person whether what actually the reason is basically. This many people basically never died in First World War and Second World War also basically. But that basically is the third world. This basically war and the Corona attack basically everything basically connects to more than 100 crore people basically, and this was actually murder basically done by the medical industry and by the army group, that is the World War group basically which is ongoing. Not World War basically, this is the mini war basically. There also basically more than 50 crore people died. If World War will start basically, then basically how many people basically is going to die basically, you can just imagine basically. So one of the person told that this is also basically one of the story basically which has already generated basically, which story is already generated basically. Now you basically can't take that 100 crore people basically back because people is already died basically. The things is already happened basically. That is told that basically ho chuka hai everything basically. Now basically you can't do anything. 100 crore people already died. That's why basically the people is not supposed to die. For that basically lots of system basically are created. So see the system basically. Government system, private system, and the other group system basically. The peace group basically, that is the Bollywood group basically. They have also basically created here basically. But then also basically more than 100 crore people has already died basically. Already died basically. 100 crore people has died. So few people says that Bollywood तो एकदम peace group है यार basically, शांति group basically. Then how basically the more than 100 crore people basically died? That was also basically one of the question, na, basically. That is also one of the question basically. If Bollywood basically exists in the India basically, then why basically 50 crore people basically died? Sorry, not 50 crore. 50 crore basically died in Corona, but 50 crore more basically died in the health industry basically. That is the medical industry. So medical basically the doctors group basically. So one of the person told that basically due to doctors basically careless basically the 150 crore people basically died. So he is going to ask doctor basically. then question answer is basically nobody can ask the question basically to the doctors basically. Why? Because doctors basically are also connected with the governments basically, because they basically give the medicines to the doctor government. Each and every basically the political people are connected with the doctors, then basically how they will basically do anything to the doctors, and that is basically fact. And one other doctor told that basically we are not god basically. Whatever data basically we are getting from the government basically, that is the city creation basically, that only basically we can do basically. How you can blame us? They are also basically correct. They are also basically 100% correct na basically, because they are not basically god basically. Even god also basically his god also is equal to basically connected with the set of planets only basically. He the god also basically have the set of planets data basically. If he gets basically ill, or basically he got some headache, he basically takes the energy of that planet basically. There basically universe basically, medicine basically are equal to planet basically. He basically takes the energy of the planets basically. So god is also dependent on the planets basically. Set of planets equal to medicine basically. That also you can say basically. So that is basically the thing. So one of the person told that the world is already created, and this is 100% going to happen. Here basically the number might be more than 3 lakh, 4 lakh basically. Any number basically can be. And then basically the best example of the creation is the SAP software basically. If you study the SAP software basically, you will see the first world war data, second world war data also basically. And that basically on the base of that inside software basically, lots of crm software is created, payroll software is created, erp software is created, banking softwares are created, lots of sap company basically is created. And basically sap investment basically is too much basically. If you want to invest it basically into sap, minimum basically you have to pay 5 to 6 crore minimum basically infrastructure basically for the sap is, because SAP is containing first World War data, second World War data basically. That you can just imagine. And SAP basically takes those group only basically who basically want to involve into the first World War and second World War basically. So you can just imagine basically to create the software also basically into one software basically. For example, one company told that basically we want to create one CRM software basically. So in where basically they can create basically SAP basically containing first World War and second World War data. Microsoft also contains first world war and second world war data basically. So each and every, and php is basically created on the base of the Microsoft basically. Microsoft basically has given one dll basically, that is the php dll. Within that dll lots of functions are there, lots of modules are basically there. Within that dll basically the entire Microsoft basically has given one dll basically. You can have this php dll basically. Within that basically whatever functions basically you are getting, in that basically on the base of that basically you can create your software basically. And Microsoft itself basically contains first world war and second world war data basically. So you can just imagine basically the creation which is already happening. That means this thing basically, that is a 600 year already passed, that basically is connected with this data. Within 600 years basically how many basically war might be started, war basically might be happened basically, war might be happened basically, that basically I'm telling basically. So that is basically totally different thing basically. So SAP, Microsoft, PHP, everything basically contains first world war and second world war data, and currently which war basically is ongoing basically. So in future basically somebody basically might create another software also, that basically it can be Salesforce also basically is connected with the first world war and second world war. So it might possible that basically in future basically somebody might be creating some other software basically, and they might be creating basically, that is also basically there. So see the creation which is already basically happening, which is already happening. So you can see the system basically which is already created. So see the system. See the Mumbai, Bangalore, Ahmedabad group basically. See the government system. See the private and others group.